I was raised by a single mom who was a waitress and a dental assistant. And as a kid, I don't think my mom ever made more than $1,000 a month. And there's a time in your life when you're a child, when you see your parent humiliated, that may be the time that you take to your deathbed. It's the roughest thing ever. When you see your parent humiliated, your hero in your life humiliated. And my mom stood strong and raised 2 boys by herself. But healthcare, several times in my childhood, the issue of healthcare, I saw my mom humiliated. And then when I was 17, I lied and I got a job at United Parcels and I became a Teamster. A little love for the Teamsters. And I loaded trucks in the middle of the night, and I got paid more than anybody I knew of my friends, and we had the best health care. And I understood what it's like to be a valued member of a workforce. I just wish, and I'm sitting in this room and I'm thinking about it, I wish my mom had a Tyrone Freeman and a Mike Garcia, you know, Andy Stern, a Bill Lloyd that had her back when she was working like a lot of the workers in this room. So when I started and looked at public education, what my mom did have back then, though, is she had the best public school system in the world in California. I see some gray hair out here. How many people went to public schools in California? Right? Almost the whole room. You know, I went to a high school in the Bay Area where the rival high school, these 2 guys went into a garage and created a thing called Apple Computers. I went to high school with the sons and daughters of Hewlett-Packard engineers. There was a vision by a governor named Pat Brown that said if we had the best public schools in the world, we'd have the best jobs because we'd have the smartest people. And as I was the class of 77, the next year we had a tax revolt, and our public schools went from the best in the world to the worst in my adult lifetime. And what passed as debate is the right, which I understand. They're a little bit indifferent. Privatize it. It's the union's fault, points and fingers, indifference. But what I didn't understand as a yellow dog Democrat who jumped the class because we used to have the best public schools in the world is where's my friends on the left on this issue? Have we lost our way? Can we not figure our way out of this? And I live in a city where the average freshman class of a high school in Los Angeles is 1,500 and the average senior class is 500. Now, I didn't go to Harvard and I'm not a Rand fellow. I'm just a public school kid. We lose 1,000 kids per class per year across this city. 30,000 kids a year. There is no other issue. The mayor mentioned that we are taking over Locke High School. We're in the middle of transforming this school. Locke High School will celebrate its 40th year this year in Watts. Imagine, and I'm just going off the stats you would get off the California Department of Education numbers. Imagine if you could get everybody that went to Locke High School to stand in one space that went there for the last 40 years. You have 60,000 people. It'd take 3 football fields. And then you took a bullhorn and you said, please step out of the circle if you didn't graduate. 40,000 people would have to step out of that circle. You'd have 20,000 people left. Then you took out your bullhorn and you said, step out of the circle if you didn't go to college. 4-year college. You'd get down to 8,000 people out of 60,000. It'd fill up a little bit of one football field. And then we know that only 4% of the kids that enter that high school go to college and graduate from 4-year college, meaning they'll make $1 million more of a lifetime, qualified maybe to be a teacher to come back. You got 2,600 people in a little tiny circle of those 3 football fields. And then you call out, how many of you came back to Watts to change it? How many of you started a business? How many of you became a teacher? How many of you started a charter school? None. So when you look at that story, there is nothing else government or business or nonprofits can do in that neighborhood to change it until you fix that school. You can do gang prevention, you can do an after-school program, but until you fix that school, nothing will change. And guess what? There's a lot of Locke high schools in this city, and they're not just in the poor areas. So we have proven at Green Dot, and Mike Garcia didn't mention he's on our board, and we are proud members of the California Teachers Association. We have the highest paid public school teachers in LA County with the same dollars, but we go into the highest need areas where there's 60, 70% dropout rates, and we educate kids. If they are in a union, they're in SCIU. That's why it's a great, thank you. And we graduate and retain 90% of the kids. And 75% of those 90% go to four-year colleges. And they're going to come back and change those communities. Now, I'm not happy just having 12 schools. I don't like to drive by a charter school and drive by a public school. We know what works. Jonathan Kozol, the author, and Warren Buffett have both said the same thing 2 different times. If you wanted to fix public education, the fastest way to do it is make private schools illegal. Think about that. If you made private schools illegal, and God bless them, they're my big donor, but if Bill and Melinda Gates had to send their kids to Locke High School, how fast do you think that school would get fixed? You think they would do studies and go in the margins? Are you kidding me? That school would be fixed in a month. And it would look like this. The school would have a bunch of schools that are 500 seats, so the kids don't fall through the cracks. There would be high expectations for every kid, not some of them. And if you speak 2 languages, man, you are a superstar. We need people that speak 2 languages. And every dollar would get to the school site, and the parents we'd be accountable to them, and the parents would be partners, and we'd fix those schools like that. That's what we need to do together, is to be a one California. We need to all come together and get out of our tribes. And the Green Dot story is about bringing the tribes of unions and creating a new unionism with parents and the parents' union. I see you back there, the parents' union way in the back. Heavily funded by SCIU, thank you. You bring parents and teachers together on a model that works, and every school in Los Angeles should have the same values as those 6 tenets of small, high expectations, all the dollars, the best teachers and the parents we're accountable to them and they're our partners. That will create a one Los Angeles and a one California. Thank you.